Good morning. It's Wednesday, July 13th, 2022. Um, the what we're discussing today is the shooting footage of Uvalde. Newly released Uvalde shooting footage shows police response to tragedy from inside the school. Just to give you a scenario, it's a long hallway that goes down to one of the classrooms. The surveillance footage is right at that intersection where you have that hallway and the main hallway that goes in and out of the building. First, total appreciation goes to the news people, WFAA and KVUE for putting out this censored video out there. Almost all of the sounds are distorted for intentional reasons because technically you can hear gunfire that sounds boom, 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 boom. And then it's accompanied by children screaming as a result of the gun shootings. Now, the screams have been blurred out, and so is the majority of the talk between the cops with that surveillance footage. Some of the stuff can be made out, some of it can't, and I'll be discussing as it comes along. Also, the full video and entirely with the audio and everything will be released to the public after the victims' families see this on Sunday. The entire video starts off with the shooter crashing his truck in a drainage ditch. Two pedestrians walked up to the crash site, but quickly ran away when the shooter started shooting. The crash video was from a funeral home service surveillance camera. 11:33, killer walks into the school, and here's the thing: the drainage ditch is just outside of the school. It's across the street from the funeral service place, but it's down the street from a school, and that's what the gunman did, was walk straight to that school. By 11:33, he walked down a classroom, walked down the hallway, that very same hallway that as I described, and then went into a classroom and just started shooting. 3 minutes later, the cops had arrived. One of the officers gets hit in the shrapnel to the crown of his head and runs back to the end of the hallway with the other officers. And it's there where many officers stay with the original few that showed up at 11:36 in some sort of hostage negotiation stance. That shrapnel, the reason why the guy got hit in the head with shrapnel is because he was crawling down. As he got closer and closer to that particular classroom, he was crawling, trying to sneak up to the door. Now, the audio was distorted, so far no negotiations could be recorded. And it was very vague on the communication. At most you could hear was "sir," and then he'd say something. "Sir, can you talk, or can you hear me?" By 12:10, okay, this was at 11:36 where the cops first arrived. 12:10, about a half hour, about 36 minutes later. At one point, it looked like they were getting bored by 12:10. A half hour had gone by, and many of the cops were on their phones. What they were talking about, I don't know. Again, the audio was distorted. But body cam footage on an officer Gazaway shuffled through what can be assumed was the negotiations manual. Okay. By 12:23, a janitor key was presented. The very same janitor key that the cops said that they were using in order to get into the classroom. All of the cops, however, were still shoveling and struggling to get ready as they were preparing to go in. Now, here's something that's just weird, but at the same time, it can be understandable. 12:37, a cop was walking around to other cops, and those other cops were pulling out their car keys and handing it to that cop that was walking around to them. And he was accepting the automobile keys and walking out. Now, I guess he's saying that the cars were blocking something or whatever, and the cars needed to be moved. Now, again, this was at 12:37. 1 hour and 1 minute had gone by. And the cops were still shuffling around. And for some oddball reason, this one guy was worried about the cars needing to be moved out of the way of somewhere. At 12:37, an hour has already passed. Okay. 11 minutes after that automobile keys thing, a sledgehammer was presented. A cop came in, handed the cops that were at the outside the classroom door a sledgehammer. Now, this is one of the reasons why I was thinking about it being a hostage taker negotiation thing, is because usually that's a perfect setup to go into a place. But the confusing thing was, why did they need a sledgehammer when classroom doors open out? Classroom doors always open out and lock in place while the teacher can stand right outside his classroom, keeping an eye in his classroom while keeping an eye on the hallway, he or she. So a sledgehammer is kind of confusing to me. And it was also very frustrating by this time. 2 minutes after that sledgehammer was presented at 12:50 p.m., the shooter was taken out. And it was over. Hostage tactics, in my opinion, hostage taker tactics were used on a domestic terrorist. That's what it looked like. And for that police chief to say, were bad decisions made? Yes, over there in the news conference and all this stuff. That's an understatement. That is a huge, huge understatement. Because again, at 11:36, where the cops first arrived, they got shot at. The guy that got hit in the crown of the head, he wasn't shot. He had shrapnel of some sort, or if not wood chips from the door that hit his head. You know, and the guy was still alive. He was running around. He kept doing this, checking his head, checking to see if he was bleeding. But he was still alive. He was running around. You could see him moving around and adjusting his body armor and all this other stuff. I mean, this was one seriously bad decision that was made. Everybody, you know, at some point looked like they were bored. They're just standing around. And I'd hate to think that the audio was blurted out because it was covering up for a joke that might have been made, you know, while they were waiting. The frustration was is part of my reactions to this. This is a reaction video, not just a simple Chris's comments, but an actual reaction to the video that was taking place. It was frustrating. It was very frustrating to see the cops not go in gung-ho the way we imagined them to doing. It was frustrating to see whether or not the negotiations talk was working, because, you know, without that audio, it looked like it was a big failure. It was frustrating and exhausting, and it was you can't blame the parents to still pursue this. You can't blame the parents who tried to jump in and rescue their kids themselves. You can't blame the people at all for their frustration and what seemed to be their panicking. What's disgusting out of this, and I know it's going to take a left curve, but it has to be said, given the nature, okay? given all of the postings that I've been saying through previous stuff concerning totally different issues. My damn Texas governor, Greg Abbott, comes down after all of this, and out of all the things he says, and I know you're going to say, wow, why you want to drag him into this? Look, I'll tell you why. Because out of all the things he could have done, the only thing he did was come down, say, this is Biden's fault. Thank you. Have a good day. And then leave. Okay? That, and I'm bringing this up because it's germane to this issue. It is in very big relation to this issue. This was no different than the Las Vegas shootings, where presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, very first initial immediate response to the Las Vegas shooting was, oh no, what it would have happened if he had used silencers or gun suppressors. Could you imagine what would have happened if the gunman used silencers? Let's take the time to ban silencers. Okay, that was the initial response that Hillary Clinton did. You could see her, the scheme that she was going for, the propaganda that she was pushing, the scheme that she was shooting for, to be number one in this angel-looking whatever the hell that America should trust and thank God that she's here and all this other crap. That was no different. Now, we got here in Texas what we saw here in the Uvalde shooting, and it was no different. The only difference is that it was a guy that wheeled in on his wheelchair. You know, and that's not to poke fun of people in wheelchairs, but the guy did have an accident while jogging. Okay, this is no war hero. You know, he wheeled on in, said, this is all Biden's fault. Have a nice day. And he left. Now, he didn't say it in those exact words, but he might as well have. And I have to bring that up because, again, especially now, looking at the shooting footage where cops were doing what Greg Abbott has them doing, standing around instead of going after the criminal. Whether it be caged children in the holding facilities or targeted children in a school classroom. Blasted, shot children in a classroom. Standing around being guards and surrounding the perimeter was all that took place here. This is Greg Abbott's police. This is every single one of them. And it's very fair to say, because remember, in my earlier posts, Uvalde is one of those border counties in Texas. Just like Keeney County, just like Kennedy County. You know, they deal with a lot of migrants that are armed and all this other stuff. But they've been turning their backs to it while demanding Greg Abbott declare a national emergency, a state emergency, and then get all these paychecks for fundings that go to their county. It's the exact same thing that I've been saying every time an incident happens on the border. In those border counties. This Uvalde shooter had a Mexican. Now, he was born American, but he lived in and out of Mexico throughout his entire life up until the age of 18. You know, criminals doing stuff underneath the cops' noses on these border towns is starting to become a routine. It's starting to become the new normal under Greg Abbott's leadership since he became governor in 2015. This is the new normal now. And the cops going up there, that one the few cops that came up at 11:36 a.m. For them to approach the thing and say, hey, police, get shot at, and then go running back to the other end of the hallway, it's just very disappointing. Very disappointing. They were wearing bulletproof vests. They were armed themselves. And so for them to go, hey, bang, oh, dang, I almost got shot. It's disgraceful. It is very disgraceful. Abbott defended them. Cruz defended them. Everybody that has a support the blue defends them. And after the release of this footage has been done, the quest to see the footage entirely with the audio and all this stuff, now Greg Abbott, and I got to come back to him because now he's saying, no, it's necessary that the public gets to see this. They need to know what happened in Uvalde. They need to know. I mean, it's disgusting to see him do this, because he's going to use that as an excuse to try to get more funds, try to get more fundings from the government. He's going to try to sue the government and say, look at all this stuff that's happening. Now more than ever, you need me to protect you. I will come up with threat assessment plans. I will have all of these cops retrained for threat assessment plans. Okay, technically, these guys have already been trained for threat assessments. They just didn't practice what they were trained. They didn't use their tactics for what they were trained for. What they did was the same old, surround the perimeter and make sure nobody got out tactic. And I know that sounds morbid, but it's the truth. That's what they did. No differently than they did when they were holding caged children in the holding facilities and detaining migrants. That's all that took place. And Abbott is the one that's responsible for it. His administration is the ones that are responsible for it. The cops that are in charge of all the other cops that told them to stay where they are is responsible for it. The cops who voluntarily ran away and stayed back and kept their distance are responsible for this. Plain and simple. Now, before you go on saying, oh, you ACAB people, blah, blah, blah. I'm not declaring ACAB. Like I said in previous posts, I have relatives that are cops. Not one of them ever came up at a family get-together or a picnic or any time that we were hanging out, which is rare, but nevertheless, it did happen from time to time. Not one rumor through the family was, oh, let's pray for our cousin so-and-so or our uncle so-and-so who's being scrutinized and is under a microscope because it looks like he failed to do his job. None of them came up with that. And I'm willing to bet real money that there's other Texans here whose family members are law enforcement who don't have investigations being done on them, who never did. But yet, everybody is trying to say all cops are bastards. No, not all cops are bastards. These particular douchebags, however, they fit the category just fine. And remember, they come out of Uvalde. They come out of Kinney. They come out of Kennedy. They come out of these border towns, Del Rio, I think. They come out of these border counties where for the past 3 years, maybe even a full 4 years, they've been doing nothing but guard duty. They've been doing nothing but surrounding the perimeter and keeping everybody in. This is the complaint that I've been saying for a long time. You know, that's not being a cop. That's being one of Greg Abbott's lapdogs. Plain and simple. So I had to bring that up. And I have to bring up the prediction, another Chris's prediction, that all that's going to take place is Greg Abbott pretending to be on the side of the people, just so that way he can, because remember, it's all about the money. Belief is the tool, so he can sue the government for more funds to give to him, to pocket, and to give to his people, or who he calls his people. Not necessarily his followers, just people that he believes are his people. And the majority of Texas is going to believe that we're better off. The majority of my state is going to believe that he's doing a good job. That Chris's prediction falls along in line with Chris's conspiracies. And remember, it's all based off of the money, belief being the tool. That's what's going to happen. That's what's actually started to happen now, with Governor Greg Abbott saying, "Oh, we need the footage released. The people need to know," and all this other garbage. When just before he was like, "This is all Biden's fault," and then he took off. You know, this is just him trying to weasel out more funds, which I can't prove right now, but one of my later predictions is that anonymous donator that donated $100,000 or more for the caskets for those kids to pay the funeral expenses. He said it was an anonymous donator. Well, now that we find out, as of a couple of postings back, now that we're finding out that Kennedy County gets $700,000 in the name of border protection, and more than likely Kinney, despite the fact that they haven't disclosed yet, they've gotten funds through Operation Lone Star for combating migrants, the policy for combating migrants from Governor Greg Abbott also. They haven't disclosed how much they got yet. But nevertheless, if Kennedy County is getting $700,000 or more for fundings for border protection, you know, it's very safe to say Kinney County is, as is Uvalde County. Okay? 100,000 out of 700,000, it's that's pretty cheap, you know. That's pretty cheap. Governor Greg Abbott comes out with this check saying, "Oh, it was an anonymous donation," even though technically it's more than likely a part of his share coming out of the billions that he has already taken after suing the government. I always thought it was around $3 billion. It turns out it's now updated, and it's up to $4 billion in change that Governor Greg Abbott and his administration has ascertained. And of course, sharing the wealth with his people, you know, everybody that's in on it, while the followers who aren't getting a dime, they're out there literally believing that Governor Greg Abbott and everybody that supports him and everybody that's on the same side, the same team, is doing a good job. They believe they're safer. They believe he's doing great. They believe everything is handled accordingly and professionally, and they believe it's better than any state could ever produce. Keep in mind, this is the majority of my state, my Lone Star state. The majority literally believe this garbage. So they're willing to let them do whatever they want in order to feel safe. Even this typical BS hostage taker tactics, surround the perimeter and make sure nobody gets out tactics. A full investigation needs to be done. I mean, I mean a gangbuster style crackdown on everybody that participated in this and every case that mirrors this, and particularly that surround the perimeter thing, that surround the perimeter and let nobody escape tactic, not even the defenseless. Every case needs to be investigated. Everybody needs to be looked at. This is some serious crap. And it's just downright disappointing. But honestly, I believe it's necessary. Because again, I also have relatives who are cops who have no such record, who perform no such tactics, but who are actual cops. And I'm willing to bet that there's a lot of people out here with cop relatives that perform the same way. Nowhere near this garbage of what happened in Uvalde. Nowhere near this garbage of what happens in the holding facilities of soul asylum, not soul asylum, but asylum seekers. This Uvalde thing was a prime example of the worthlessness commands that come from Greg Abbott and every single one of his followers, every single one of his people that are in charge of something. Nothing but worthlessness, nothing but standing around while criminals get away with what they're doing. 20 people, 19 kids, 2 adults, 21 people, 21 lives just off of this one incident. I'm willing to bet real money that it's just the start. Once this investigation is done and everything pertaining to the same tactics, because if you got to question the tactics being used in this scenario, you got to question the tactic being used out of every scenario that this tactic was used. So yeah, once again, this was very disappointing. This was a very disappointing thing that happened with the cops and the situation of the Uvalde shootings. And an investigation is needed, not reform, not a change or anything like that. The change should come as a result of the investigations. It is very important that investigations are done. I mean, and I don't care by whose age, you can get the kookiest of Columbo-style detectives on this, as far as I'm concerned. You can get a Telly Savalas, Kojak, hell, even a William Shatner-style detective, or the cops could, the government could just investigate it themselves. But nevertheless, yeah, a big-time investigation is needed, a full crackdown on it. Because this was very disturbing and overall disappointing. I mean, your heart just sinks. You feel the knot on your throat I feel the knot on my throat as I'm saying this. It is a very, very disappointing thing. The entire video was disturbing, and it led with the result of sheer disappointment. And you'll see what I'm talking about once you take the time to look at that, even with the distorted audio to where you can't actually hear what they're saying. It is a very heart-sinking disappointment of a situation that took place. So I'm running out of time now. I'm losing a lot of data. I'm using up a lot of data, so I have to go and finish this. I hope you all take care of each other. Please watch that video. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Make note of everything. I want to know who it was that all of those cops were talking to on their phones, you know. And I got a pretty good feeling it's going to lead to whoever was in charge, all the way up to the head honcho in the Capitol building, Governor Greg Abbott. I'm almost positive this video is 100% proof that they are all at fault. You know, they're all at fault. They're all doing this because they're following tactics that they'd used throughout this entire time. And it's done nothing but brought in big paychecks from Greg Abbott, who's been grabbing them by suing the government. And they relied on that very same tactic on this school shooting when they shouldn't have. It's led to this. This is a prime example of the worthlessness of the use of power that's being taken care of. That's my closing. This is my reaction. That's all that I'm saying. This is a reaction video, and this is my reaction. That's how I view this. Thank you for your time.